All right, we're about to dive into one of the weirdest documents the US government has ever declassified. Get this, we're talking about a report that's basically a step-by-step guide for transcending time and space. And it wasn't written by some mystic or guru, it was written by the CIA. So that question right there, that's the core of this whole thing. And it's a doozy, right? It's asking you to seriously think about the idea that everything you see, everything you can touch, it might not be what you think it is. The theory here is that it's all kind of like a massive complex simulation. And our consciousness, well, it's just tuned into one particular channel. And I know what you're thinking, but this is not science fiction. I mean, this comes from an official report commissioned by the US Army and declassified back in 2003. It's this really dense, really technical breakdown of a method to basically alter your own consciousness and have out-of-body experiences. All right, Section 1, to really get a grip on this totally bizarre document, we've got to ask a pretty simple question. How in the world did the CIA end up in the metaphysics business? Well, the answer, and this is true for so many weird government projects from that time, it all comes down to Cold War paranoia, specifically a psychic arms race. So picture this. It's the 1970s, and US intelligence is absolutely terrified that the Soviets are weaponizing psychic abilities. I mean, they were convinced they were falling behind in this psychic arms race. So in this mad scramble to find some kind of countermeasure, they stumbled upon this guy, Robert Monroe. And he wasn't a scientist. He was a radio executive who claimed he'd figured out how to create out-of-body experiences just by using sound. So the Army needed to know if this guy's methods were the real deal. They sent in Lieutenant Colonel Wayne McDonnell to check it out. And the report we're digging into today, that's his official report. And let me tell you, his conclusions were, well, they were absolutely mind-bending. So what was this technique? What was so special that it got the military's attention? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. It really all boils down to a process for hacking your own brainwaves. The tech is called Hemi-Sync. And honestly, the core idea is surprisingly simple. What Monroe found was that if you play two slightly different sounds, one in each ear, your brain creates a third phantom beat inside your head. And it's that internal beat that gets the left and right sides of your brain to lock in and start working together, perfectly in sync. And you can really get a sense of the difference here. Think about our normal, everyday consciousness. Our brain is kind of all over the place. Hemispheres are doing their own thing, thoughts are scattered. But then you get the Hemi-Sync state. The report says it creates this incredibly focused, whole brain state of consciousness. It's like the perfect launching pad for going, somewhere else. Okay, but wait a minute. How does just syncing your brain waves let you leave your body? Right? This is where the report takes a hard left turn, away from audio tech and straight into quantum physics. So according to Colonel McDonnell's report, the reason Hemi-Sync works is because our universe, it isn't made of solid stuff. Not really. He says it's a huge, incredibly complex hologram, all built from interacting energy fields. I mean, just think about that for a second. The implications are staggering. If that's true, then the line between your thoughts, your inner world, and the real physical world out there, it gets really, really blurry. So here's the key takeaway. If reality is just a frequency, like a radio station, then the gateway process is supposed to be the dial that lets you change the channel. The whole idea is that by using Hemi-Sync to tweak your brain's frequency, you can detach. You can literally detach your consciousness from this physical hologram and go explore other dimensions. And the process itself is broken down into these different levels. You start at focus 10. That's where your body is totally asleep, but your mind is wide awake. From there, you aim for focus 12, where your awareness starts to expand beyond your physical body. But the end game, the final goal, is reaching what the report calls the absolute. Think of it as the foundational energy field of everything. It's like getting access to the source code of reality. Okay, I know, this all sounds completely out of a sci-fi movie. So the real question, the one we all want to know is, did any of it actually work? Let's take a look at what happened when they put this theory to the test, and what the skeptics have to say. So McDonnell's report was definitely compelling, so much so that the military kept going with it, and it eventually evolved into the program you probably heard of, Project Stargate. The goal of Stargate was to use these techniques for real-world espionage, specifically for something called remote viewing, to psychically spy on enemy targets. Now, here's the wild part. They had some hits that were shockingly accurate.
But, and this is a big but, the whole program was just riddled with inconsistency. The intel they got was often super vague, totally unreliable, more like a metaphor than a fact. It just wasn't something you could act on. I mean, you can't launch a military operation based on someone's hazy vision, right? So eventually, they had to pull the plug.
And to make things even more mysterious, for years, when you looked at the declassified document, there was a page missing. Page 25. People went nuts over this, thinking that was where the real secret was, the magic key, the final technique to make it all work. But when they finally found it, well, it was kind of a letdown if you were hoping for a magic spell. There was no secret formula. Instead, page 25 was just a philosophical discussion. It talked about how important your own belief and your own intention are for the process to actually work. It was all about your mindset, not some secret technique. And that brings us right to the skeptical argument, the more grounded explanation for all this, which is, look, Hemi-Sync isn't a portal to another dimension. It's just a really, really effective form of high-tech guided meditation. All those out-of-body experiences, those incredible visions, they aren't trips into a universal hologram. They're just powerful, vivid experiences created inside your own head. And let's be honest, our brain is the most powerful reality simulator there is. So, after all that, the psychic spies, hack-in brainwaves, the universe as a hologram, where does that leave us? What are we supposed to make of it all? You know, it really boils down to two very different but equally fascinating possibilities. On one hand, maybe the gateway process is exactly what it claims to be, a real portal, a tool to tap into a reality beyond what our physical senses can pick up. Or is it a mirror, a powerful way to take a journey deep inside yourself, into the massive, unexplored universe of your own consciousness? In the end, it doesn't really matter if you think it's a tool to explore the cosmos or a tool to explore yourself. The Gateway document leaves us with this one really profound idea, that maybe, just maybe, the limits of our reality are just the limits of what we believe is possible. So the final question isn't really about whether the walls of reality are solid. The question is, are you brave enough to push on them just to see if they move?